All right, good morning, sixth graders. Hopefully you had okay time doing chapter 9. Most of y'all had the homework assignments turned in. Some of y'all took a little longer with the quizzes. Some of y'all didn't use the formulas for the quizzes. Hopefully you did a good job on the test. Now we're on chapter 10. This only has 5 sections, so next week, or actually I guess this week for you, you have 5 days with the lessons, Monday through Friday, 10:1 through 10:5. So hopefully you're doing well. Um, Let me know if you need any help. Email me any questions. Pause the video how you want. This is probably a little bit hard on 10:1, especially example 1. And I was trying to figure out what's the easiest way to explain this since we're not in person. So hopefully I found the easiest way to explain it where it makes sense. This is about functions and about input output. And so what happens is a function is a rule that relates two quantities so that each input value corresponds exactly to one output value. So what you put in has exactly one answer. That's what it talks about. And so what happens is, this is the hard part of writing the equation for the function that gives the values in the table. Use the equation to find the values of y for the indicated. So we're looking for this missing value for 1, but we also have to write the equation. So it's a two-part answer. This part is not always as hard, but you got to pay attention because a lot of people would just say 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, and put 19 down for an answer, and then we mark it wrong because it's not 19. Look, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This number is not 5. If it was 5, then it would be 19, but it's 10. So that means you have to count out. And 6 would be 22. You can keep counting out that way and figure that answer, but to write the equation is a little bit harder. And so this is where you have to pay attention. And I don't know that's the easiest way to explain it except for this way. And if there's other ways your parents can explain it, that's fine. However, is easier for you to understand is the way you need to learn it. But I will tell you this. You always start with your x, that's your input. This is always your input. And this is always your output. So you always start with x, and you want to say, what can I do to the 0 to get 4? What can I do to the 1 to get 7? What operation can I do to the 2 to get 10? What can I do to the 3 to get 13? And what can I do to the 4 to get 16? And we have done this back in the first semester when we did tables back in chapter, which chapter was it? 1, 2? It was somewhere back in the beginning of the book. And so the easiest way to do this is start with your x. If my x is 0, how and what operation can I do to get to my y of 4? So if x is 0, how can I get to 4? Well, one method is to add 4. 0 plus 4 is 4. And the other method would be to, can you multiply anything to get 4? No, you can't multiply anything to get 4. So 0 times nothing is 4. And you can't subtract because you're going to a bigger number, and you can't divide because you're going to a bigger number. So anytime you're going from a smaller to a larger number for y, if x is smaller and y is larger, two operations, multiply or add. And if you're going the reverse, if you're going from a bigger to a smaller, then you're going to divide or subtract. That hopefully makes sense. And so if multiplication doesn't work, we're going to try adding 4. So that's the only thing that works. So 0 plus 4 is 4. 1 plus 4 is 5. Well, 5 is not the same as 7. Therefore, adding 4 does not work either. So if it's not adding or multiplying and you can't divide or subtract, means it must be two different operations. And so there's going to be a few of these. You're going to have two operations to worry about, not one. So then it's just really, you can use guess and check. You can go, okay, 0 times 2, and then add 2 to get 4. And you can go all the way through here. You can guess and check as many times you want to get it right. And so we can use the guess and check method. Okay, we can go 0 plus 4 doesn't work. About 0 plus 2 equals 2. Add 2. Well, you can't add and add. That doesn't make sense. So you can't do the same operation twice. That's adding 4. So to do two operations, it has to be two different operations. So you can go, okay, let's see here. 0 times 4 is 0, plus 4 is 4. Okay, that works. So 1 times 4 is 4, plus 4 is now 8, but we have gotten closer to 7. 8's closer than what it was a while ago from 5, but we're a little bit too large. So we know the guess and check method would be like, okay, now we're going to try a different number. So let's go 0 times 3 is 0, and we've got to add 4. So let's see, times 3 plus 4, so 1 times 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, so now we're on the right track. So let's start with 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Add 4 is 10. So it looks like we found our method. 3 times 3 is 9. Add 4 is 13. 4 times 3 is 12. Add 4 is 16. So it looks like we found what works. We're going to multiply by 3, and then we're going to add 4 to find our missing answer. And that's all good. So 10 times 3 is 30. Add 4 is 34. So we know our missing number is 34, but now how do we write the equation on here? Well, if you're going to do this, you will start with x, and you say x is times 3. So x times 3, add 4 is what we're going to have. So the way you write this is you do it this way, equals y. So you put the y first. X times 3 is the same as 3x, and you plus 4. Look, this is a guess and check method. I just showed you guess and check because some people might use guess and check, where you just got to keep guessing until you get it right, and as you get closer, you narrow it down. If you don't want guess and check, I'll show you another method that works every time, and I think it's the easiest way I can explain it of doing it one way without guess and check. So here's how it works. If you try 0 times anything equals 4, it doesn't work. You try 0 plus 4 equals 4, but then 1 plus 4 is not 7. So if one operation doesn't work, only if two operation works, you can do it this way. Step 1 is to see what is the y's counting by. What is my y counting by? 4 to 7 to 10 to 13 to 16. So what is it counting by? Well, let's see here. Think about this. 4 plus what is 7? 7 plus what is 10? 10 plus what is 13? 13 plus what is 16? So it's counting by positive 3. I guess let's say 3 then. We ain't dealing with negative numbers yet. 3. So it's counting by 3s. And we can see that. So step 1. What are my y's counting by? Counting by 3s. Can you see here? That's 3. That's 3. That's 3. And that's 3. I can just do 7 minus 4. That's 3. 10 minus 7. That's 3. 13 minus 10. That's 3. And 16 minus 13 is also 3. So you can see this all counting by 3s. Probably need to change that color, I guess. So step 1 is to see what the y's are counting by. So on step 1, when you do this right here, my equation is, so I know this is so far. Y equals, I'm going to put the 3 in front of my x. So I basically have two numbers to find. Let me just erase this for a minute and show you this. When it says write an equation, it's always like this. There's going to be a y equals, there's always going to be an x, and there could be another number here. In our case, there's two operations, so we're going to look for a number here, and we're looking for a thing here. So first, we're going to find this number here first. First step is, what are my y's counting by? So step 1, y's are counting by 3s. Y is counting by 3. So I put my 3 right here. So now it's y equals 3x. So that's where I'm at now. Y equals 3x. So now I know this. It's 0 times 3. Because 3 times x. What's x? X is 0. Is 0. What's this x? This x is 1. So 1 times 3, which is 3. This x is 2 times 3, which is 6. This x is 3 times 3, which is 9. And this x is 4 times 3, which is 12. You notice I don't have any of those answers yet. So I got to figure out what can I do here to get the rest of my number. Well, if you look at this right here, watch, I'll put this line here. I'm going to put my answer, my y's here. See, I started with x here. This is x. This is y. Y is 4, 7, 10, 13, and 16. So basically, I started at 0. My y's are counting by 3s. So that's what times 3 is. 3x. What can I do to 0 to get 4? I can add 4. From 3 to 7, add 4. 6 to 10, add 4. 9 to 13, add 4. And 12 to 16, add 4. So add 4. So 3x plus 4 is my equation. And then to solve this answer, it's just simply 3 times x. What's x? Now do 10 times 3, which is 30. And it says plus 4, which is 34. And there's my other answer. So it looks like the guess and check method is, but instead of having to guess maybe 4 or 5 times to get it right, it gets it right the first time if you understand this, what this y is counting by to start with to give you your beginning mark, first operation. I know this is hard, and I'm not saying it's easy. So you compare x and y to find a pattern. They just do it for you. Y is 3 times x plus 4. 3 times x plus 4. So we write the equation. 3x plus 4. So this is how you write your equation. It's always going to be y equals something with the x, and then if there's another operation plus 4. And you substitute in 10, so 3 times 10 is 30 plus 4 is 34. And there's how you find the answer. I'll do a couple more of these because they're not as easy. How about this one? Remember, first thing you want to look at is the pattern between x and y. Smaller to larger, smaller to larger, smaller to larger, smaller to larger. So we know we're going from a smaller to a larger. It means there's 2 operations we can get a larger number out of, either multiply or add. So we try these first. So 3, let's do adding. 3 plus what is 9? 6. So let's try this. 4 plus 6, do you get 12? No, you get 10. Therefore, it doesn't work. So we can scratch the plus sign out. That means we only have one operation to worry about now. Let's try the multiplication. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay. 4 times 3, well, that's 12. 5 times 3, that's 15. 6 times 3, that's 18. Therefore, my answer will be times 3. So how do you write an equation when it says times 3? Remember, it's always y, then equals. Times 3 means this, 3x. Look, if you have trouble with this, just write it this way. Y equals x dot 3. X dot 3 means 3 times x. So that works also. And there's no plus or minus sign here because only one operation. There's nothing to add or subtract because that works, that works, that works, that works. Therefore, it's y equals 3x. Y equals 3x. And that's my answer. And then to find this one is just simply 10 times 3, which is 30. So y equals 3x, and my other answer is 30. Or if you write it this way, y equals x times 3, my other answer is 30. I'm okay with this answer also if that helps you out. And that's how you do this one. Because this one's just one operation, just simply 3 times x. If it's one operation, it's really easy. There's no really guess and check method. You just try the addition, try the multiplication, try both operations. If it's going the other way, then try both operations of divide, subtract. If neither one works, then you have to resort to the guess and check or the method I'll show you. So here we go. Smaller to larger. So we know it's going to be adding or multiplying. So we start with 5. What can you add to get 11? Well, 5 plus 6 is 11. So let's try this. 6 plus 6, do we get 13? Nope, we get 12. So adding does not work. So we take care of adding out of this. Now we only have one operation to worry about, smaller to larger. So 5 times what is 11? Well, does it go in equally? 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. So multiplication does not work. So now we've eliminated our one operation. So now we know it's going to be 2 operations. So remember, I told you, here's how the easiest way to do this. Step 1, take your y value and see what it is counting by. So we'll go from 11 to 13, that's 2, 13 to 15, that's 2, 15 to 17, so that means we're counting by 2s. And this only works if the x's are counted by 1s. And I think your whole homework assignment, they're always kind of ones for you to help you out. So step 2 is actually do this. That means you're going to be multiplying by 2. So my first operation is 2 times 2. So I'll put it over here so you can see it the whole time. Step 1, count your y's, which is count by y's, which our answer is 2. So step 2, we know we're going to do what? We're going to be timesing by 2. So that means we know our equation so far has to be this: y equals x dot 2, or we can write it this way: y equals 2x. Because when you're multiplying a letter and a number, you always put the number first, the letter second. So it's 2x. That means 2 times x times 2. We also know there has to be another step to it. So we're going to start here with 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those are my what? Those are my x's. And it says step 1, count all my y's. I counted. It says 2. So whatever number I get here, I'm going to multiply right here. So times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2. Step 1 is to count your y's. And whatever number it is 2, 2, 2. Step 2 is to take that number and multiply it times your x. So step 2 is to multiply. So take that number and I'm going to multiply right here. So 5 times 2 is 10. 6 times 2 is 12. 7 times 2 is 14. 8 times 2 is 16. If you look, they're all different numbers. 10 is not 11. 12 is not 13. 14 is not 15. And 16 is not 17. So now we have to figure out what's my next step. So step 3 is to figure out what number. I guess I shouldn't say it that way. Maybe I'll get that works. What number do I add or subtract? Now I'm going from 10 to 11. So I'm going from 10 to 11. Look, I got to get this answer to equal 11. This one has to equal 13. This one has to equal 15. And this one equals 17. So this step here is how do I go from my answer 10 to my actual y value? And there's 2 operations you're either going to be adding or subtracting probably in your lesson. Every once in a while you get one is if we multiply, divide, or divide, multiply. But I want to say I looked at the homework assignments. They're all going to be multiply, then usually add, or multiply, then usually to subtract on your homework. So let's say multiply, add, multiply, subtract. I don't think we gave you any of them that has that, so it's set this way. So what can I do? So I'm going from a smaller to a larger number means I have to add. So I'm adding, and adding. What can I add? I can add 1 here, I can add 1 there, and 1 there. If all these numbers are the same, I know then my answer is going to be y equals x times 2 plus 1. Or y equals 2x plus 1. That's my answer, or that's my answer. And then all you do is take your 15, you got to times it by 2, that's the same step, which is 30, plus 1, which is 31. You notice everything looks the same. All these numbers here, I wrote down here, I times them all by 2, because that's what the 2's are. And then I found my answer, then I took my answer and I had to figure out, do I add or subtract to find this answer? There. I know this is difficult, trust me, this is not going to be easy for you to do. Now you can write equations for functions that are described in word form. This is a little bit easier. So they want you to write the equation. The equation is always going to start with either y or whatever letter you want. Let's do it this way. If you don't like, look, you can use y and x every time, or you can use different letters. But you're going to have 2 letters in your equation. The equation has 2 letters for the function. So the equation is height of a painting is 7 times its width. Well, 7 times its width. So if you use y and x, then it's going to be y equals 7x, because 7 times its width is the height. Or if you want to use letters like h and w to make sense, so the h, this word is your equal sign, so the h is height, height is, and it says 7 times width. Or if you want to write it this way, 7w. You can put the dot if you need to. Y equals 7 dot x or 7x. Anytime you have a letter and a number, you can put them side by side. That means multiply. So if you like to use y and x every time, use the same letter, that's fine. You see y and x, 7x. If you want to use the letters that make sense. Here with H and W, do it that way. And then the second part is to tell what each variable you use represents. So if you use X and Y, well, the Y would be the height of the painting. If you just want to put height, that's fine. You put height of painting. The X would be the width if you use Y and X, because the X is located here. It's 7 times, so 7 times X is width. The Y is here, the H. If you use H and W, then the H represents height. W represents the width of the painting. The height of the painting, width of the painting. So it's not that hard. Depends on what letter you use. They usually use H as the height of the painting. And they will probably use W for width of painting. You put height and width if you want. You know, they put a painting. And then the equation is H equals 7W. If you use X and Y, it's fine as long as you tell me what X is and what Y is. And X has to be whichever one is next to the 7 represents the width, and whichever one is over here by itself represents the height. Then let's go to the next example. Very similar. And let's just use H is height. W would be width, and it's the height and width of a mirror. Well, height, H, is equals 4 times width. So H equals 4 times W. And that's all I have to put for an answer in that. Both an answer. If you use X and Y, that's fine. 4 times X, well, Y would represent the height. X would represent the width. And you just put Y here and X here. And then you might have one where it's a little bit different, where now they have different operations. A large pi costs 2 more than a small pi. All right, so let's see, you can use this. L for large pi, S for small pi if you want. This represents the large pi. This represents the small pi. Or you can use X and Y if you want. It doesn't really bother me which letters you pick, what 2 letters you want, and identify them. That's what it means right here. Identify your letters. So I know my equation, the L represents the large, the S represents small. A large pi costs how much? 2 more than a small pi. So then I know this. If I have a small pi and I add 2, I will get the price of a large pi. So a large pi is $2 more than a small pi. So 2 more than a small pi. 2 more than means to add. So 2 plus small pi. Small pi plus 2. And it has to equal the larger one, which is the large pi. I can use L and S also. Now, in example 3, this one looks like it's hard because a lot of stuff, but it's actually pretty easy. The school acquired a track number of tickets sold and total amount of money received. And so they sold each ticket for the same price. So look, one time they received $80 for 20 tickets. Then they received $88 for 22 tickets. And then they received $108 for 27 tickets. They want you to write an equation. All you have to do, if you really want the simple way, is just to find one answer, and it's the same for all of them. But basically what you got to do is this right here. You got to take your money amount and you got to divide it by your tickets. How much did each ticket cost? Well, 20 tickets cost $80. 22 tickets cost $88. And 27 tickets cost $107. And all you do is divide all 3 of them. They should all be the same answer. 20 goes into 80 4 times. 22 goes to 88 also 4 times. And 27 times 4 is also 108. And so all 3 answers should be the same. So if you do the math right. So if you think about it, really I'll do is just take the easiest one. This is the easiest one to divide 20 into 80. You get 4. But if you notice here, when they turn $80 worth in 20 tickets, each ticket was $4 a piece. When they turn $88 worth in for 22, they were $4 a piece. And when they turn $108 worth ticket of 27 tickets, they were $4 a piece. So the only thing we got to worry about is this. Write the equation for the function. The equation is this: y equals 4x. So it's going to be something times that. So we divided. Division. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. That means if you divide to find your answer, your equation has to be the inverse, which is multiplication. And so we divide it to find the answer. That's why it's multiplication. So relationship between tickets sold and money received. And to solve it, they use T and M. There's your chart. Same thing we did in example 1. How many times does 20 go into 80? 22 goes into 88. 27 goes into 108. These are going to be one operations, not two. Always going to be dividing to find your answer, and your equation is going to be multiplication in the 6th grade book. And so if you divide them all out, you can see that it is times 4. So times 4, and you can use whatever letters you want. I just use Y and X every time. But here's how it shows you, look, 20 times 4 is 80, 22 times 4 is 88, and 27 times 4 is 108. So they all cost the same amount. Therefore, on this one, you don't need a table. Just showing you here, look, school band tracking number of tickets sold and total amount of money received. Okay, they received $60, so we know $60 is going to divide by 20. There's that one. Then 66 for 22 tickets, so we're going to divide there. And then 81 for 27 tickets, so we're going to divide here. So we've got 3 division problems to solve. Because looking for how much does one ticket cost. 20 tickets cost 60, so one would cost, looks like 3. And then if we do the math right here, that will be 3. And if we want to check that one's also 3. So we know each ticket costs $3. So write equation. Look, division, division, division. So the inverse of division is to multiply 3 times x. Or if you want to use M and T, M for money and T for tickets, 3 times 1 ticket will give you the money amount. And that's lesson 10-1. So I know it's a hard lesson, so hopefully you take your time on that one and work it out and solve it best you can. So thanks.